brought to you by Grace. Make a good move today.
The former opposition leader, former Finance Minister Dr. Peter Phillips, made a contribution in the sectoral debate on Tuesday where he spoke about championing change and being guided by what history has set down so far in Project Jamaica. His speech was one about how we can come together and, in a collaborative way, solve some of the problems that have been bedeviling Jamaica over the generations. He joins me in studio this evening to speak more about his idea of collaboration and partnership. Welcome to Lead Story here on CVM TV. As I told you, Dr. Peter Phillips, the former Minister of Finance, the former opposition leader, the Member of Parliament for East Central St. Andrew, he told the House that, look, for all intents and purposes, this is my last contribution to a debate. He relished the invitation to speak by the now opposition leader, Mark Golding, and he went into a speech. Welcome to the show, Dr. Phillips.
Thank you very much.
As I looked through the text,
well, it's really not a text, it's notes.
Notes. Here's the thing. When the PNP sent it, they sent it just as you were about to touch the floor.
Yeah.
And I said, 9 pages. And I said, I need to ask Dr. Phillips first up if he has ever, in a debate setting, spoken from notes that take up only 9 pages in the House in all his time as a Member of Parliament.
Well, I mean, I have spoken without notes on occasion.
But it's stretched for more than 9 pages, I'm sure. I'm just talking about the brevity of it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. The first thing I want to ask is this. We'll get to the substance of what you said. But as a man who has been used to, over the decades, being and playing a central role in matters concerning governance and the politics, how is it for you to be watching on as there is another metronome at work controlling proceedings, another floor general saying this way, do it this way, that do it that way? Do you miss the demands that you have been so accustomed to over the preceding decades?
No. I think by the time you reach my age or my stage, you understand that most things in life are temporary. Life itself is temporary. And so you get used to the changes and need to move on and do new things. I mean, if I have a view on something, I would call the persons affected and share my view, but I try not to, and I certainly respond to calls from the people who are interested in my opinion about something and give them my opinion. Because, everybody has a different style, a different approach, and every period has different demands. And no, I don't feel any regret.
Yes.
And any
missing out on
withdrawal
anything.
symptoms
Yes.
or anything like that, no.
Yeah. I have leaned heavily on the fact, Dr. Phillips, that, well, there have been many significant moments in the country's politics where I've not been present, given I was born in the 80s. So I have read about some of the big occasions in the country's politics and in the country's governance. But for the period when you were finance minister and you did that deal with the IMF, and you called that press conference at Jamaica House, and you said that you would wish this procedure, this process, on nobody else. I was there, sat in the front row, and I felt all of what you wanted to transmit about the difficulty of the process, almost dehumanizing, begging almost, with the multilaterals to give us a deal to get us out of the hole. I say that to say, from that point of you telling the nation about what you went through to get that deal, managing the deal in terms of meeting the targets and putting in the legislative pieces to support the road that we were on to this point? Have we done as well as that initial effort would have dictated?
Well, I am pleased that fiscal prudence in terms of just maintaining macroeconomic targets and steadily moving the debt down has continued. And I think that that's a plus that the country as a whole can feel proud about, and that it has carried across administrations is a plus. We have not managed to get the growth part right. And if we don't get the growth part right, then quite frankly, we're going to drop the ball because we will have failed the aspirations of the Jamaican people to get a better quality of life. And you know, I don't think we need to be satisfied with 1% and 2%. In fact, that's going to just leave us at the bottom of the pile in the region, not to mention the bottom of the pile with high-performing countries in not only the Latin America, Caribbean, but elsewhere in the developing world. You know, you need 5% growth, and we can do it.
Yes, hold that point, Dr. Phillips. I have to take my first break. This is Lead Story here on CVM TV. Dr. Peter Phillips in the house.
Join my private room. Only $1,000 for a grand time.
That I know me. We never said that. But who going believe me?
That is correct. $4,350,000. Yes, go ahead. $4 million? I never approved that.
Yes, me go doctor tomorrow. So me have to get the money today, no longer. Then no me face that. I never make no record, I beg nobody no money.
Deepfakes are AI-generated images and videos made to look and sound like people we know and trust. They're used to spread misinformation, destroy reputations, and are used to commit fraud and scams. Don't fall victim to deepfakes. Protect yourself. For more information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or scan the QR code on screen.
Every day starts with care. Care that's always close. Supermed Family of Pharmacies is where you go for everything you need. From your morning routine to life's biggest moments. Supermed Family of Pharmacies is always by your side. Whether it's prescriptions or household essentials, trust the care that's close to home. Super happy, super healthy, Supermed.
He's been indomitable in East Central St. Andrew for a very, very long time and has been a staple in the politics of Jamaica for decades, and governance, not just politics. He's Peter Phillips, Dr. Peter Phillips. He is the former opposition leader, former Minister of Finance and Planning, and he spoke in the sectoral debate on Tuesday. We're talking about growth. You said that 5% is very possible. And as from your informed perspective, we've tried various things over time, but here's what the experts always tell you. Productivity is low, the skill ratio of the labor force per capita is low to a man, to a woman in the labor force, it's low. Yeah. Yes, we don't have enough people in certain critical areas. Just last year, Wisynco said they wanted to expand their plant. The plans had to be shelved because they didn't have enough workers, and then that's part of the argument about importing workers. So together, what it is that is eluding us from getting on the path to 3 to 5%, you would believe?
Well, it seems to me that there are some obvious elements and there are some elements that are not as clear. there's no quick fix to it. We need to just accept that. There's no magic bullet, no
big proposal you can announce
thing that can say that's going to do it.
Yes.
What we have to find is the discipline to do the things that we have determined are essential to do when we do it, when we work out the template, so to speak.
Yes.
Some of the things we have spoken about and are pretty self-evident. The education, fixing the educational system.
Key.
Is the absolute fundamental starting point. Can't get productivity, higher productivity rates when 70% of your workforce hasn't completed secondary school.
Yes.
We have spoken about incentivizing on-the-job training, which we should do, and it's a self-evident thing. And now that we have some greater flexibility in relation to the taxation arrangements, this is something obviously that we need to look at.
Yes.
All right. So education and training, energy. You can't go anywhere with a 41 cents US per kilowatt hour.
Ridiculous.
With your competition in Santo Domingo and elsewhere looking at 10 cents a kilowatt hour. It just can't be done. So we have to do that as well. We need to incentivize, and I think Peter Bunting or Tony Hilton made the point the other day, that we need to, again with the tax things, we need to incentivize the retooling of our plants.
Yes.
So that people can make the investments, whether it is in AI or just new packaging equipment or new factory equipment on the production line.
Yes.
That's another element that has to be undertaken immediately. Then we need to do public sector reform. We have spoken about it. It takes people too long to move from concept to opening the plant. In fact, and the competition is not how we did it last year or the year before, is how your competition is doing it, how quickly a man can move in Costa Rica or elsewhere to get his things. We need to pull up a whole network of inherited regulations and rules, some dating from way back in colonial times, to allow the producers to get on with the job, to allow the man who wants to get a piece of land transferred to his name, to set up a factory or a farming agribusiness operation, to be able to do it. The bank won't lend him if he doesn't have a title. And if it's taking you years to get the title, it's just lost production. Now, my view, and I said it yesterday, we shouldn't need the IMF to come and set us quarterly targets for anything. We need to be able, and this is why we have to pick the big things and do it together. Include everyone, not just the parties in the parliament, although the parties in the parliament will have to learn to pick out the real big things that are of existential significance to the country, that determine whether we sink or swim, whether we live or die as a nation, you know, and get those things done. We need to decide on what we want to do collectively. We need to set our targets, and we need to have the discipline to meet them. You can't spend all that you have and promising everything to everyone and the end delivering nothing for the nation's future. And there's too much of that.
Collaboration and cooperation.
Collaboration, cooperation, discipline to get it done. And include everybody. If you really want to know what is impeding a lot of the manufacturers, for example, you have to talk to them. You can't sit down outside and work out some plan that worked in Indonesia or somewhere. You have to really deal with the realities that we're facing here.
Yes. I have to take the break on that point. It's not about a genius politician with all the ideas in the world, Dr. Phillips is saying. He's saying it's about a humble leader who accepts and understands that in the spirit of collaboration and cooperation, that is how this country will achieve its targets. More on Lead Story after this.
Every day starts with care. Care that's always close. Supermed Family of Pharmacies is where you go for everything you need. From your morning routine to life's biggest moments. Supermed Family of Pharmacies is always by your side. Whether it's prescriptions or household essentials, trust the care that's close to home. Super happy, super healthy, Supermed.
Hey everybody, I'm Yendi, and this is Odyssey with Yendi. In this space, we connect with some of your favorite people as they share their journeys. Here we have some unfiltered conversations as we deep dive into their inspirations, motivations, and experiences to inspire our own life journey.
Brought to you by Grace. Make a good move today.
Back with us on Lead Story here on CVM TV. We're talking cricket in the break. Dr. Phillips, we don't have all the time in the world left, so I have to be quick now.
All right.
Here's the thing. Mark Golding's PNP, are they ready for this job of leading Jamaica?
Yes. If for that very point, the humility, Mark was part of the whole effort that was undertaken in the 2013 to 2016, 2012 to 2016. He was part of it. He was a major performer in us getting the legislative side of that program underway, put in a lot of hours, but most importantly, what he did involved pulling all of the public sector agencies and all the moving parts together to prepare the legislation that was needed not only to satisfy the program, but which did eventually get us moving up the ranks of ease of doing business and get us moving up the ranks in relation to the integrity and transparency ratings. And, you know, on that last point, I want to really make it of fundamental importance. It is the integrity part. As I said yesterday, the political class as a whole in the country, and even more recently, has lost because there is doubt in the integrity of our national leadership. You will never get buy-in from the country as a whole, the workers, the civil society groups, the people looking for safety in their hospitals and the streets, if they don't believe in the sincerity of the leadership. That, you know, is not about flash and pizzazz.
Yes.
It is about whether you have the interests of the country and the people at heart.
Yes.
And that's going to be earned not by PR programs, but by hard, painstaking work. And as they used to say, show me your emotion.
Yes. So you're saying that Mark Jefferson Golding is prime ministerial, and does he have the team that can get the job done, you would say?
Yes, he has a team. I think that, you know, part of the thing is that the team is working. Some of them are in Parliament, some in the Senate, and some contending for seats. But, you know, between people, you have some first-rate people. There is the Alfred Dawes, who is not in the parliament now, but I expect him to be.
Yes.
You have a team including people, Damian Crawford, including Julian Robinson, Peter Bunting, Tony Hilton, all of whom have had experience. Natalie, Nita, Donna Scott Motley is an extremely gifted justice minister for the future, and leader of the Senate, and has great experience, spanning administrations, going all the way back to Michael Manley's administration. You know, and you have some young talent in place too. There is my own son, and there are others, Bunting I mentioned before. So and a whole different tradition, a whole different style of leadership.
Yes. When we listen to the leadership of the now PNP speak, and I can understand and accept it because I know how the political games go. And there's a time and place for everything, and there's a time for political games. Some people don't like that, but it's a fact. The now PNP, Dr. Phillips, will say that, listen, Holness and his team have not done right by what they inherited. They've not done as well as they ought to have done. So we aren't giving them credit for gains made in important sectors. Julian Robinson is a little bit different. He says, well, yes, I could never say that nothing good has been done. All I'm saying is that better could have been achieved. What's your position on how Holness and his team have done in their time at
I
bat?
said it earlier. I said that maintaining the downward trajectory on the debt and fidelity to the program is something that the country can take a bow on, which was led by Nigel Clark and his team carrying it forward. And that's a good thing. I believe, and as I said, that in fact, it's a point I was trying to make yesterday without engaging in a kind of
partisan bashing. Yeah.
The failure to build collaboration has been their greatest failing. Playing games with the crime management oversight committee that was built together. You know, murder reduction is good, but that does not equal safety in the streets.
Yes, you said that in the script.
Ask the nurse who was brutally abused. I mean, it should sear the conscience of any well-thinking person, every Jamaican. And what's happening to our children on the streets, you have to be afraid to leave your house. But and to engage the wider society. These people are not PNP people. These were the private sector people, the academics, the experts outside.
So you're saying that the broad church approach to governance, which will include a collaborative approach to the ECJ, the ombudsman, and all those things.
All of those things, because it's moving us backward rather than forward. They should be engaging the society in relation to the growth issues and others. Talk to whomever you would want to. And I tried to point out that even within the traditions of the Jamaica Labour Party, there were traditions. When Eddie Siaga had 60 seats after the PNP boycotted it, 83. He didn't just say, well, all is mine. What he said is, look, we're going to amend the law so that Michael Manley can continue to exercise the responsibilities under the Constitution as opposition leader and do the things that are necessary. And ultimately, you know, it's a frightening thing to contemplate. There was, I kind of was a youngster coming into the process, 83 and that time. Went onto the party's executive for the first time. There was more with 60 to 0. There was more two-party consultation
than exists now.
We had more discussion weekly, monthly, teams led by Bruce Golding on the one hand, Paul Robertson on the other, of which I was a part, had discussions on a weekly basis. It was then at the Hotel Oceana we used to meet. We had more discussions in 83, 60 to none, than we had when it was 32 to 31 in 2016, when there was absolutely no discussion across the aisle. That's their greatest failing.
Last one before we go, we're on borrowed time. Usually, well, certainly in my lifetime, you usually hear that this election is the most consequential in the country's history because the country is steering down the abyss, steering down the barrel, and you don't know what projectile will come up from the barrel into the country's collective face. Are we at a different place now?
We are at a different place. We are at a different place. For the first time since independence, we are facing a world which is generally hostile in the metropolitan centers of the world, hostile to the interests of small states and to the survival of small states like ours and to the global south.
Hear you on that. Dr. Phillips, thank you for your time. All the best.
All the best.
Respect.
Take care.
Yes.
Pleasure.
Dr. Peter David Phillips there, the former opposition leader, former Minister of Finance, and the still Member of Parliament for East Central St. Andrew. The news is up next.
Everybody, I'm Yendi, and this is Odyssey with Yendi.